What's up, guys, and welcome back. Today we're going to be reviewing Pose Season 1, Episode 1 pilot. Stay tuned to the other side and we will get right into it.
Give me the music. Give me the music.
And you know what? That was just the beginning.
She is a mother of vengeance, and this is where the goodness comes from. So, Elektra steals Blanca's idea, and she wants to have the house walk as the Royal House of Abundance. And the girls are all excited, and they're like, oh my god. And this show is loosely based off Paris is Burning. It kind of has those, because it's the same story, just said in from a different perspective. And I remember watching Paris is Burning, and the girls were talking about going to places for a ball and just mopping up the store, which means going and stealing, your ensemble that you're going to wear for that ball. And so the House of Abundance goes to the art museum, and they literally mop up the whole royalty collection, literally with capes and gowns and wands and crowns and jewels, everything. They mopped it all up. They run out after the police is called. They run to the ball. They get dressed and they completely storm the ball. I'm telling you, everybody just applauded. Everybody was going crazy because a lot of times in the ballroom scene, you get the same stale old looks, or you get a basic look or a predictable look. Nobody's going to expect you to come in a actual gown fit for a princess, and a suit fit for a prince. So they completely just stole the show, won the category, and clink clink on the radio. Whoa, on the radio. We introduce Damon into the story, and Damon is he's dancing, doing ballet, and he's on his way home, and he's so excited to get home so he can close his door, turn his music up, and start dancing all over again. And his dad walks in, and his dad is upset because his dad's co-workers have seen Damon leave the ballet studio, dancing outside the studio and all that good stuff, probably just being carefree about, who he is as an individual. And his dad was unaware of this. And then also his dad had found some male porn in Damon's room. Damon's mom, she walks into the house after dad has, pulled his belt out and start whooping Damon. And dad kicks him out of the house. Mom chases behind him and smacks him, and she's trying to make him repent to his dad and tell him that he's sorry and that he's not going to do it again. And he'd be able to come back in, but he refuses to do that. And I have to say this about this particular scene. I can relate to it to the point where I was kicked out of my home or my family house from being who I am. But I can recall times when I was in my space, in my own room, alone, and I was dancing or singing or having some sort of concert, wearing high heels or whatever the case may have been, and being caught, asked, "Are you gay? Are you gay?" And not being able to say, yes, I'm gay and this is what I like. Damon did that. I could not do that when I was younger. Damon is 17 at this time. I was a little bit younger. I was probably about, 14, 15 when this was occurring. And I just didn't have the strength to say that, yes, I'm gay and I like to dance, or I like to sing, or I like to wear high heels. I couldn't make it up I just couldn't say it. And I take my hat off to him in this moment. And then also he was able to stand up to his mom and not fold and not, go back into obscurity with who he was as an individual. He is a dancer and that's what he loves to do. And as we see, on this show, Damon, he dances better than most people I've seen dance in real life. So, I just think that it's really incredible that he was able to articulate that information to his parents. And, it goes to show you, it shows you what it's like for these children who are kicked out of their homes, completely disenfranchised from their family members, and thrown out on the streets, just fed to the wolves. And then people try to figure out why they act the way they act, why they behave the way they do. And it's all this trauma in such a short amount of time, but you have no time to actually grieve over this trauma that you've been put through, because you gotta learn how to survive right away. And I'm grateful that I was never put in a situation where I was in survival mode at a young age. I always was taken care of throughout my youth. Now, when I turned 18, that was a totally different story. But all the way up until I was 18, I was very well taken care of. And I was, when my mom did make me leave the house, it wasn't because I was gay. It was because we were going through other things. And it wasn't just her putting me out. She's sending me to another relative's home where she knows that I'm going to be safe and very well taken care of. So this is how the ballroom scene was able to be created. You know, all these people being disenfranchised in places like New York City, gathering at places like Central Park, you know, or on the piers. The lecturer was saying ideas are ingredients, putting these ideas together and forming houses. Not just for, you know, a place to live, but also just for that security and that, you know, that feeling of like, I'm worth it, I'm important, and I belong to something. And that's how all this started. And this is a perfect illustration as to how it all goes down. People are so curious as to, you know, how could your mom or your dad put you out because you're gay? Well, this is a perfect depiction on how that plays out. And I want to also not be too harsh on the parents as well. I think that it's important for, you know, maybe not as a child, but as you get older, you understand that parents in that time, nobody wanted anybody to be gay because AIDS was already ravishing the country and all just taking people down already. So it was a fear, not only a fear of catching this disease, but also a fear of people mistreating you. You know, nobody wanted to see their child be mistreated because he is a man wearing a dress or a wig, and he looks like a man, and, you know, nobody wanted their children to be mistreated. I think it's important to understand that perspective from the parent. It's not always about, you know, what the Bible says. It's sometimes just about fear. Like, Blanca goes to the doctor and is diagnosed with HIV, and she takes the news kind of easy. You know, news like that could be probably taken very hard because around this time, HIV was a death sentence. It literally was a death sentence. And even in 1987, they did not have any kind of medications that would prolong your life. The only medications that they usually had around this time were, I believe it was a few cocktails, but then also they had the drug AZT. AZT was actually killing people more than the actual infection was. So people were scared. People were, you know, and it's just like you get diagnosed with this disease and then you just prepare to die. And or you do what Blanca did and you try to kind of, you know, live hard. And so Blanca goes out and she's searching for an apartment where she can create her own house. And Electra finds out about this and she gets pissed off. She fronts Blanca in front of the whole house of Abundance, and, you know, she lets her know that she has spies all over the city, and bitch, I've been watching you look at these rat-infested apartments. And, you know, I think Blanca was just ready to spread her wings and do something different. On the other hand, you have Electra, who's so selfish and self-absorbed. She doesn't think about the positive impact it could have on Blanca. She's just thinking about the negative impact it's going to have on her house, being one child down, and then also, you know, one less person to boss around. So Damon made it to New York. I'm assuming he was living in New Jersey and traveled to New York, living in Central Park on the benches. Apparently there's a lot of homeless people, a lot of junkies around that area already. So he just kind of jailed in, but at the same time, it was unsafe and just not a good place to be. He eventually had his things stolen from him while he was asleep, and Blanca approaches him while he's in Central Park dancing amongst the junkies and invites him to go out, check out the ballroom scene. She explains to him what the ballroom scene is, and then she also takes him to a ball and shows him what it's all about. I can relate to this scene only in the homeless perspective. So I was actually homeless for a while. And the one thing that Damon said in a scene after that was, you know, if I were homeless for another night, God only knows what I would have done. For not to be hungry anymore or not to have a place to stay. And I've actually been homeless. And I'll tell you what, there was a lady that I spoke with and she told me that had you been homeless for another night, you probably would have done anything for a bed to sleep in or a hot meal. And I didn't think about it in that moment of me being homeless. I was only homeless for one night on the concrete. Just crazy. But in that moment, I wasn't thinking like, oh my God, like I'm desperate. I didn't think I was desperate, but I could imagine that had I been homeless for about a week or so, I could have been up to some pretty gnarly, suspicious things. All right, so we move on to Angel. She's working the piers and she finally meets, I forget the guy's name, but she finally meets her trick. We call them tricks. And he takes her to a hotel room and, she gets naked and takes her clothes off and he does the same, and they just lay there and she talks about her story. A lot of times, I know even just watching prostitute documentaries, there are men or tricks who will just want a hoe to talk to him in a way that his wife doesn't or his girlfriend doesn't or in a way that nobody doesn't, and make him feel important or just to get insight on your world. And some of these men who were picking up the women down at the piers were gay but did not have the strength or the courage to say it. So just to feel what other people are feeling and be like, oh, I feel the same way, but I can't live that life because I have a family and I have a responsibility to my family to uphold. And even from that perspective, I don't necessarily hold it against the men. I think the only time I hold it against the men is when they cheat on their wives. I think that especially at this time, cheating on your wife with a homosexual was dangerous. Like that was dangerous only because you didn't have most married couples don't use protection, and then also you could get pregnant, the child could come out with HIV or AIDS as well, the wife get it, she doesn't know where it came from. And this happened a lot, and actually it happened a lot to a lot of black women. Even to this day, a lot of black women suffer from catching HIV or AIDS from their husbands or their boyfriends, and they never knew that man was having sex with another man. And it's really dangerous. It's so dangerous. But yeah. So I'm assuming Angel was feeling herself one night and she wore this chiffon Halston dress. And just a little backstory on Halston. I don't know if you guys know, but Halston is one of the first American designers to showcase an American fashion label in Europe. It wasn't Paris Fashion Week. It was actually like European Fashion Association, something or another. But Halston was one of three. And there were three other European designers. And after that, American designers were able to showcase collections in Europe. Now, Halston overtook the fashion industry by storm in the early 80s. Oh my God. He was everywhere. Halston was on carpet. He was on furniture. Halston licensed his name to almost everything. And he was one of the first American designers to do that. What took Halston down was Halston licensed his name or partnered up with JCPenney, and the brand went downhill from there. Literally, nobody bought this stuff. It was too overpriced for the JCPenney shopper, and it was too low quality for a high-end shopper. So nobody bought this, and the brand just sank, absolutely sank. And by 1987, Halston was forgotten, and everybody was onto other brands and labels and stuff like that. So yeah, Halston was definitely made out of a joke after a while, but I have to tell you that Halston is actually one of my favorite designers in the whole wide world. When you read his story, listen to his story, he was innovative in so many ways and made new changes in the fashion industry back in the 1980s that nobody ever was able to do. His demise was his lover, and the fact that he sold his brand, that killed him. That definitely killed him. But as we see today, in department stores, you have all kinds of labels in those stores. I actually think that now, right now, you don't see as many high-end designers in places like even Macy's. A lot of those brands have pulled out of even Macy's just because, it's a different environment. And a lot of times those high-end designers can't really reach their market because their customers don't shop at places like JCPenney's and Sears and Macy's and whatever. Angel storms out of the ball, and Blanca is there because she's recruiting for her house. She only has one child right now. She needs another. And I feel like Angel and Blanca, even from the very beginning, had some kind of connection, even when they were a part of the House of Abundance, that you just knew they were going to be together. And so she goes out, chases Angel, and they talk, and Blanca invites her to her house, and Angel accepts, and they go home. And Blanca is going over house rules. You know, they have to go to school, they have to work, they have to improve themselves, they have to also be available for each ball so that they can win trophies and be an iconic, legendary house. I'll tell you what, Damon looked really good, but he also was kind of messing up a little bit because this was his first time doing this, and he wasn't consistent. There were a few times when he stopped, he looked confused, and the girls notice all that. The girls notice it, especially when you're going up a person like Lamar. Like, Lamar is legit, in real life, legendary to the ballroom scene. So his voguing is astronomical, and for a beginner to be able to go up against him in the first place was pretty incredible. He went up against Lamar and Cubby. And then you have Elektra and Blanca. They walk and vogue and, you know, do their little thing, and Elektra stole the show. Blanca looks like a Banji house mom, and she just doesn't, she's not radiating that female realness that the council is looking for. At the end of the ball, we have Poppy running up to the house of Evangelista. He's like, hey, I know y'all ain't shit right now, but I ain't shit either. I just want to be a part of the movement. Y'all look good up there, and I want to be a part of it. And so he joins the house. And I think in this moment, one of the lines that stood out to me the most was Pertel's line. He said, you want to keep a reason to keep going after tonight. There it is right there. He was pointing to Poppy, who was running to go get his things. Poppy was also one of those people that he was disfranchised from his house or kicked out in some kind of way. And, you know, again, you have all these young kids, literally kids, out roaming the streets with no home to go to, and they're just searching for that opportunity. And Poppy jumped right on it. He saw it. He saw them, and I loved it. I feel like that scene encouraged Blanca because the next day she took the whole house down to the new school of dance where Damon actually was supposed to apply, but he didn't because he was, I'm assuming, afraid because he didn't feel like he belonged. But she spoke with the teacher and got him to perform or dance and audition for the teacher. And I'm telling you, killed it. Danced to I Want to Dance with Somebody by Whitney Houston and just completely killed it. And he leaves the audition and he got accepted into the school, which is just incredible. I love people like Blanca. I feel like people like Blanca help bring out the best in everybody, you know, and they are selfless and they are strict, but they see it and they want to pull it out of you. And I feel like Blanca, in many ways, have just shown us this incredible heart as a mother. And I see her as everybody's mom. I don't see her as a house mom. So thank you guys so much. I've been wanting to do this review for a long time. I've been like putting it off. But I'm just like, let's get it done and over with. It didn't take me too long, or as long as I thought it would. But thank you guys so much for watching. Like and subscribe also, and I will talk to you guys later. Bye.
Just give me the